shoot a lower score. There's one rule.
Oh man,
Dude, how are we gonna start this?
first of all, like it's been forever.
It's been too long. Let's see. We're going. Our last one was with Jamie George back in November.
But you guys just now heard it this past week.
Right.
So we took a little bit of a hiatus. Holidays came around. Honestly, it's all my fault, really.
I kept telling Jack, "Do you need some help? Do you need some help? Do you need some help?" He's like, "No, I got it."
It's a life lesson in delegation, that's for sure. Which is our first big announcement. First of all, welcome to the No Mulligans Podcast. This is an awesome new step in the podcast journey. I've been on the podcast since episode 72 or 73, and I think now we're in the 190s, if not over. No, we're over 200.
We're over 200.
We're over
We've been
200.
over 200.
So I've been on for a while now, and this is awesome because we're finally seeing some really good progress in the podcast. We've brought on some amazing guests last season, and behind the board tonight is Tate Huseman.
Hey, should we poke his hand up or his head up in the camera?
But one of my good friends from high school, and we've stayed in touch throughout life since then. And man, this guy's a master when it comes to audio and video stuff. He's studying to be a doctor, studying to be hopefully an orthopedic surgeon. So really excited to have him on temporarily, maybe permanently. We'll see how this goes, but just a lesson in delegation. And Erica Firehelm has created a new podcast art for us, which is, if you're listening to this, it's literally on there. You're looking at it right now. We've got YouTube rolling consistently. We've got clips going out on social media.
Right.
So and then there's
somebody behind the scenes doing that for us. Kind of finding the good hot spots.
Finding the good stuff. So I mean, it finally feels like we've created a team around us to really put this thing in full gear for this season. So I'm excited for this swing season.
Well, the idea of the lesson in delegation thing, I've added, last summer, I had Erica and Chris on board helping me with my junior program in the summer.
Yeah.
And then towards the middle of summer there, we added Elijah Tackett.
Yeah.
So Elijah's on board, beginning the PGA program, stepping out of playing professionally.
He's really going to crush it, too, on the teaching side. He really is.
And so he's our dedicated course specialist. Nobody else in anywhere near us has somebody that's dedicated to that space. So that's huge. So
and that's the whole point of this podcast too, right? Is because so many podcasts that you listen to about golf are either probably on technicalities of the swing, or you've got people who just talk about pop culture in golf, which we do occasionally as well. Yeah. But the main point of this podcast and the old part of the podcast, the old podcast name, the Champions Playbook, is all about just going out and crushing it on core strategy. And so I think that's one place where this is one place where core strategy has really shined here at Franklin Bridge.
No, I agree. And this winter we had 52 people through cracking the code, 18 juniors and 34 adults.
Wow.
And so that was huge. We had 25 last year, and only about half of those were really dedicated. This year it's been fantastic. It's our winter program. So we're already taking not necessarily signups for next year, but people are interested. So, I mean, just a big expansion. Pretty soon here on the podcast, you'll hear us announce an additional staff member we're going to have come on board here.
Huge news, too.
Really excited about that. Can't tell you about that yet. And then I think it's okay and safe. Well, no, we're gonna hold back on
the summer.
On the summer.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we really have two massive additions to staff personnel this year. And so there's this whole team. My wife, Rebecca, has been behind the scenes, really doing all of my just back of the house work, emails, catching up with emails, programming, getting the website up to date, do the new website for Franklin Bridge Performance Institute. Oh, so good. It's right there so all of everything is coming together in the vision that I've had for this place and that Brooks has had for this place. And there's no better time for us to rebrand the podcast than now.
I know, and I guess that's another reason. Like, yes, it was my fault that we, that we fell behind on the podcast, but at the same time, too, there's been a lot of stuff behind the scenes that's been happening to prepare for this golf season. So, I mean, we're really excited to bring it to you. We're excited for the Champions Playbook to come back. We've got some awesome guests lined up too for the first part of the year, and just we're excited to hit the ground running. So for this podcast, we just kind of wanted to let you guys know what's going on. We're going to kind of talk about the world of golf in the last couple months, and just really give a good, solid episode back to the Champions Playbook before we hit the ground running.
Yeah, it's funny. I was just looking at you as you're talking, and I'm just start smiling. Like this is exciting.
We're back, baby.
We're back. This was always a lot of fun for me to do these, and not only that, just kind of thinking of how everything's coming together. I'm watching Tate down here working on our audio. I've wanted a team behind me for so long. It's been me.
Yeah.
For so long.
Yeah.
In a lot of different ways. The role was different in Birmingham when I was with Hank, but Hank was ending his career while I was really beginning mine, and so there's a lot of work on my back to do that, and happy to do that. But we have a team, and we're growing, and we're young, and it's something special, and it's a blessing, and thankful to everybody who's helped and supported and listened to the podcast. I mean, top 25% of all podcasts in the world is
well, and that's
special.
Also a thanks to you guys who are listening to the podcast and the majority of y'all who are here around the Franklin Bridge culture. But for those of you who aren't as well, like, we really appreciate you guys listening and tuning back in. And the one thing I was going to say, Scott, is I feel like I'm fairly in tune to golf culture when it comes to like pop culture. I mean, you have the Barstool Foreplay guys, you have Good, you have Rick Shields, you have a bunch of guys who are out there, and I feel like we really hit a niche that all those guys like don't do, especially when it comes to podcasting and culture and like talking about the game. And so I'm excited to start this journey of building this team around us to hopefully produce a product that is entertaining and is a product that you guys can watch and be entertained by even outside of the property here. I think that's going to be super exciting to see how it develops throughout this season.
Well, it's as you say that, you said niche. I remember when I first started writing this content, I did it as a class, right? Remember? So I wrote the Champions Playbook, which is all core strategy with a little bit of mindset towards the end, because strategy is usually far worse than the actual mindset piece.
Yeah.
So that was the focus of it, and we're giving a presentation, or Hank's giving a presentation with a mindset guy down in Birmingham, and we're sitting there, and there's 70 people in the room, and Hank says, Scott doesn't know this yet, but that one day that's going to be a book. It's kind of neat for him to say that. I'm like, okay, I guess I'm going to write this as a book. I haven't wrote a book before. In fact, I hate English.
Yeah.
I avoided all the English classes I could. So, but I found that I really enjoy writing, and I enjoy journaling, and it's just a way for me to process my thoughts. And turned out to be a great thing. And Hank said, "This is going to be your niche.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you can carve that out." And sure enough, here we are. And now I've got a second book, and I have a college program who last fall barely got introduced to BP and OP and POA, and the whole team wasn't really doing it. Their team finish average position was north of 10.
You're talking about
11,
the team
12.
that's red and black?
I can't say more, but they're coming down again this weekend.
There's a lot of red and black teams out there.
There are a lot of red and black teams.
But you know the one I'm thinking of.
And so they, their first two tournaments this season, religiously focused on BP and OP and POA from Golf Decoded. And they're using our practice notebooks, so they got that going too. But they religiously have stuck to those two things. Their scores have been, they finished second and third in their last two tournaments. That's a massive shift from outside of 10th to in the top three.
Yeah.
And in the third place finish, which is their second tournament, they were tied for first with 6 holes to play. It was super tight at the top. So I'm excited to see how that program develops. I've got a couple other college coaches that are excited about the content. So
you know what I've noticed about that team, though?
So exciting.
What I noticed about that team is I came in here for a short bit when they were all in here learning, and it seems like the majority, if not all of them, were pretty much bought in to the process.
Right.
And I feel like that's something that we've talked about over the entirety of the Champions Playbook is that surrender and that buy-in to a point where you just trust the process.
Yeah.
And it seems like when you do that, the results are coming.
Yeah, and that's the interesting thing. Shout out to some people in Malaysia at Masters Golf Performance in Malaysia with Sue I Lim. She's got several of her students, one of her professional players and one of her amateur level guys, and she's working on some of her girls too that are in college, really doing the stuff from Golf Decoded. And one of the guys was following it, and then we popped on a phone call, talked through it, kind of explained to him where he's missing shots and how to look at the data and how to make more sense of it. And shot his personal best around, shoots 3 under a few days later. Because I told him, I said, looking at this data, man, you could shoot under par on the regular.
Yeah.
And just boom, like the next day, the next 2 days, beautiful rounds shifting. And then one of her professional players, I was actually able to diagnose, like, hey, here's a pattern. He's underperforming. His data says he should be 3 or 4 under. He's only 2 under. He's missing it by 2. I said, here's what I see in the relationship between OP and BPN, or POA and BPN. And so then I got a message from him, shot 6 under. There we go. Made the shifts. I didn't see those same errors. They didn't line those 2 numbers up incorrectly. They got them matched correctly. So, like, you can't miss the BPN and have poor POA.
Sure.
Right. So some of you are like, what do all these things mean? Well, you're going to have to get Golf Decoded, look at it, come see us. We're going to run some classes on it this year. Go see Elijah. He'll talk you through it. He knows the content. But just at night, this is so exciting.
Yeah.
Like, we're growing. Our junior program is expanding. Our ladies clinics for the first time are full. I've got Hit It Far clinics coming up. It's just this, it's what I've dreamed of happening, and here it is.
You know what's cool too is I'm thinking about like a lot of the people, and I do want to reflect. Like, I think what I really want to do for this episode is reflect on the time that we were the Champions Playbook and just see how far we've gone.
Yeah.
But one thing that I do want to mention is when I first started working with you, just as a player too, just looking at my progression the entire time has been just so awesome. And I think the really like the biggest breakthrough, and if this is also a subtle plug as well, but when Strixon came into our lives, I remember when you were sponsored by another club manufacturer beforehand.
Yep.
And then Strixon came on. You were like, "Yeah, I'm going to go with this company called Strixon." And I was like, "I'd never heard of them before." And really, they weren't on the scene too much before.
No, they were starting to make a little bit of noise on the tour.
Yeah, and so
they've always been good wedges. So
Right.
they've had that with
Right.
Cleveland.
right. But seeing them come on, and then me getting my Strixon clubs, and really like taking that jump to the next level, I think there's a lot of parallels in number one, the podcast that we've done, how I've grown as a player from, I think even like you being here in Tennessee, going from here. It seems like the podcast is a great benchmark for us to see our progress the last like 2.5 years.
Yeah, it's funny if you watch how it's grown and you've watched how all the programming has grown and how your game has grown and how I've grown as a teacher. You know, I was talking to somebody the other day, or today, actually this morning. I said, you know, honestly, I don't know that the content of my teaching has really changed much. I think how I've taught and my committal to certain things has gone way up. So
100%.
I'm all in on the Champions Playbook and the Golf Decoded.
Yeah.
The content is so good. You know, last year just kind of soft floated it, and I'm putting all of my energy into it. I mean, we sent copies out to college coaches for free. Just this stuff is that good. I'm going to give it to you. Now, what you do with it doesn't matter. I have a team that was using it at one point. They're not using it anymore. In their last tournament, they shot like 81, 84, whatever. And they were shooting in the low 70s, and they almost won 2 tournaments. They set a school record. It's like, well, what are you doing?
Yeah.
You know? Like this, I'm that sold out to this stuff now, and I'm more committed to it. And it's neat to see me in a new spot and to see us in a new spot. And no mulligans.
No mulligans, baby. Yeah, I remember when I first met you, and you were like, you know, I said, you know, I've produced podcasts before for a few people around town. And you're like, that's funny, I've got one. And then you're like, how about this? I'll give you this lesson if you come on and you produce this podcast for me. We'll see how it goes. And I remember we did it on the back porch of Franklin Bridge, which that's a very well said
nostalgic.
phrase. Yeah, a very well said phrase over the past.
Welcome to the back porch.
Oh, the Champions Playbook. And it's just funny, like hearing that and you being like, yeah, we've got like 3,000 listens. You're like, we got 3,000 plays on the podcast. And I was like, oh, that's
fun.
That's a lot. I was like, that's a lot. I was like, that's a lot. Like, that sounds like a lot. And after all of the podcasts that we've done on the back porch of Franklin Bridge, all of the cornhole that's happened out there, all of the people who have sat around.
Remember when I did the cornhole
doing
episode?
the cornhole episode, exactly. Yeah. Then we moved inside. We had a couple really big summer events for your book, the 100th episode, and then 200 episode, and then we had 4 guests on, and now before you know it, we've got a little over, I think it's like 35,000 plays at this point. And so, yeah,
that's exciting.
It's a big thanks. It's a big thanks to you for being able to put this on. But I think it's been a journey together as well to go through this whole thing. So I wanna start here. I want to. Can you think of either a favorite moment or a favorite guest that we've had on the podcast over the last 2.5 years that we've had together?
I'm just going to go first thing off the top of my head, right?
Sure.
Instead of thinking deep. I'll think deep about my favorite one, but I think the most standout one, like moment, is our last one that we did on the back patio and we advertised.
Yeah.
We had 120 people.
Yeah. It
was
on
the
a
back
lot.
patio. You know, I'm going, is this patio going to collapse? I don't think it is. It's made out of concrete. We're good. But like that was hey, look where we're at. And it was announcing this building that we're in.
Yeah. Yeah, the building didn't even exist.
Right.
The driving range,
right.
There's so many things that happened to the course, too, in the 2.5 years that we've been here.
I know. It's, it's really easy for people, and I've kind of had some of this the last few weeks of, gosh, it's just overwhelming. There's so much, and there's still all this work to do, and there's so much work to do. I feel like I'm behind, and I'm going, but think back to where it once was.
I know. It's hard to reflect. It's hard to reflect when you're going so far, so fast.
When it's hard, I think that's something for us to remember too as players and as people is it's so easy to look at things and go, well, I'm just not where I want to be yet. It's like, do you see how far you've come?
Yeah.
We may not be in LA yet, but shoot, we're more than 2/3 of the way there.
Right. I was about to say we're flying over Kansas right now.
Right, and we're moving fast.
Yeah.
We're not stuck in traffic. We're not in a traffic jam. We're cruising at 30,000 feet in blue skies.
I know. Yeah,
it's a fun time, fun place to be. So that's my standout moment. Favorite guest is interesting.
I mean, there's just so many good ones.
I think, gosh, I mean, Jamie George is the most recent one, but I still think one of my favorites from an energy and excitement standpoint, which is kind of how I view my teaching, is the professor we had on.
Yeah.
Michael Starbird.
Yeah, the math guy.
Yeah.
Yep.
So,
and we were talking about the books and talking about OP, BPN, and POA, and just how that all related. And it was super cool because I remember you texted me. I was actually playing at Old Natchez. I was walking on at Old Natchez. You called me. I was about to tee off. It was ironic that I was playing golf. And you called me and you go, dude, I've got it. And I'm like, what do you mean? And you're like, P-value? It's good. And I was like, no way. I was like, let's see how it goes. We tracked it for a little bit. I remember I bet on Morikawa, I think to win the Memorial it was that year, and won some money when we were betting.
That was the tournament where you started to really see not only the predictable capabilities, but how accurate it actually is. You're going, there's no way he's going to get to 15 under. He's only at 4 under through 2 rounds, and everybody else is at 10, 11. And there's no way Finau's only going to shoot 10 under or 11 under in that tournament. He's already at 10 under.
Well, and that's before everybody knew Finau as like a choker, too.
I know. And you're going, everybody's saying, he's the next, nope. And so it's just, dude,
which, by the way, good for Tony Finau.
Like, Golf Decoded is so amazing. I had a guy, I was posting some of the data recently on social, and a guy messaged me. I don't even know who he is. He lives in Denmark or something. So if he's listening to the podcast, I may have the the country wrong, but he's not on this side of the pond. And he said, I have to look it up, but in the Instagram thread, he's like, dude, the Champions Playbook is my Bible, bro. Just this idea. And Elijah's used that same analogy when he's taught this winter. People are going, what about this and this? And said, Elijah's like, chapter 1, page 7. Just the content is so good. And it's not me bragging on myself. Like, I'm even floored at how good it is. It's Hank telling me that it's going to be a book.
Yeah.
It's, I didn't realize what I had. And it's nice to, really embrace my gift. And Brooks has challenged me to embrace my gift this year. And I'm already seeing dividends that pay dividends this year. And my energy and enthusiasm's higher, which turns out to be better lessons. And it's just, we're sitting on a gold mine with this stuff. And you've helped me collect the data. Taylor's helped me collect the data. Just a whole team of people. That's been fun.
You know what? That just had me come to mind. I'm trying to rack my brain for some of our earlier guests, just because it seems like so long ago.
Taylor was fun.
I was about to say that was that episode that we had with Taylor was really good, and I think that was right before the Bear, and he was out setting the pins.
Oh, that's
right, for the tournament. He was out setting the pins for the tournament. We were talking about course architecture and superintendent like pen placement and like everything like that. That was awesome. That was a great episode.
That's fun.
And Taylor always brings the energy. And then we had a few episodes in the pro shop when we did the this or that. Yeah.
I was just thinking the same thing.
Yeah, we did the this or that. We had
a
few in there. Those were some really good ones.
I wouldn't mind bringing something like sneaking that back in once in a while. It's almost like would you rather.
Well, and for those of you who didn't listen or who don't know what we're talking about, the this or that game was kind of like you either choose this or you choose that, and it was like links courses or not, or 2-iron or 2-hybrid or something like that.
Right.
And you choose this or that, but that was so much fun. We had a lot of fun with that.
That was back in our Gary V days.
Oh my God. Yeah. We've used Gary V references all the time.
Oh my goodness. So I still love a lot of Gary V's content. I don't really follow him much anymore. Kind of moved to different spaces.
Sure.
It kind of reminds me of somebody asked, Hank used to always ask students, he used to say, who's your favorite golfer? And they'd say Jordan Spieth or I don't know or whatever. He said, you're your favorite golfer. And you should be.
Yeah.
And it's this idea of embracing your gift, embracing your game. You were there today with some of the elites. And my theme is, even though all three of you have pretty dang good games and you're working to make them better, each of you has to be you. What's unique about your game? What's going to make your game unique and stand out? Do you need to work on all the facets? Absolutely. But there's a unique way of which you do that. Like,
do you want to talk about that for a little bit? Those 3 or 4 people, I got the opportunity to play with one of them beforehand in a practice. But I want to talk about that for a little bit, and we're taking a break a little bit from talking about the old days of the Champions Playbook. But I think this is good content too. Talking about embracing your own game, and you say like swing your swing. And build your own unique swing too. I'm curious what you see out of those elites and maybe even including me in there too, because one thing that I saw is I'm not as talented as those guys, but mentally I feel like what I've learned from you over this whole time is that the mental game is just as important, if not more important, than your physical game too. So I'm curious on your thoughts on those gentlemen and what do you think is unique about all of them?
So this is hopefully going to be a really good soundbite. I've been thinking about this for a week or so. So I'm going to answer that question. I'm going to answer it a different way. What does everybody want control over, right? They want control over the ball. Well, you can't control the ball if you can't control the club. You can't control the club unless you can control your body. You can't control your body unless you control your head, your mind.
Oh, that's so interesting.
Right? So it actually starts there and works down. So one of the ways that you're able to catch up and make progress is because you're in control of the mind. And when you ask questions for clarity of how to maneuver your body. You're not actually totally focused on the ball. Now, we all get stuck on controlling the ball, but that's where things get stuck. So when you're dealing with junior golfers, most golfers, but especially juniors and developing them, they're hyper worried about their appearance and what things look like. And where'd that ball go? Oh my gosh! You see some of them throwing a fit or getting upset.
Yeah,
it's because they feel embarrassed by what they look like. I don't care what you look like, and now you actually look even dumber, right? You look worse,
especially when you're in like a safe space too.
Right? Hey, it's totally fine for you to screw up, and nobody cares.
Yeah.
In fact, we just want you to shut up and keep going.
That's one of the places where I actually thought I had the edge on them, and I think that's also just a part of being older too. I mean, definitely
part of that's just getting older.
They're in a spot in life where like they do care about what everything is going on around them, but like throughout that entire thing, I was more upset about like what I was doing myself. I didn't care about whatever they were doing.
Right. And that's
I even
where
told one of them, I was like, "Come on, dude, like let's go,
get it together."
Yeah.
And we both got on one of the boys at the same time, and that's when he shut that really negative mindset, and it was outward. If you're going to pump that negative language, body language, whatever, out into the world, get out of here. Now, we weren't that firm with him, but it was just, hey, I just want you to be quiet. Just don't talk. Just do. And he actually started playing better, right?
Yeah.
So we both had to get on him, and getting on him like, hey, man, you're fine. Just keep going. It's just a putt. It's literally just a ball that you just missed. Who cares?
Yeah,
Right? Like you're not going to be 5 years from now, you're not going to even remember that putting contest.
Yeah.
So, it's a lot of what we do is training the mind. And the next person we're going to bring in to run our junior academy and program. So parents, hopefully you're still listening to this for the parents that are into this. But is this person spending a lot of time studying mindfulness and learning how to train your mind and be in control of the thoughts that go through your head. And this person struggled to do that some in their own game, which I think is actually what makes people the best teachers sometimes.
Is it the person who I think it is?
Yeah, you know who's coming in to take on the junior program.
Oh, well, yeah.
And so,
so that's exactly
they're gonna be a fantastic asset in that regard.
I can't wait to see them just be like zen, because it's almost the opposite of who I know them as.
Right. And you're going to see that, and the growth in their own game has been really good. And I'm really excited to use their talents combined with Elijah and mine and this other person that we're bringing in for fitting. I mean, we're about to have the whole team.
Yeah.
And dude, it's that we're not flying at 30,000 feet at, however many 100 miles an hour. We're going at a hot clip. We're going Mach 5.
Which is also one thing that I wanted to bring up tonight, is because for those of you who are loyal listeners out there, I think it would be so fun to create some kind of Patreon for the people who are really diehard Champions Playbook or now No Mulligans listeners.
It's hard for you to say No Mulligans.
But the past people who are now current people as well, or the people who just want more content as well. I think it'd be so cool to see what you guys want in some content, and then we can go out and shoot it and release it early or a month early or whatever it would be for the people who actually want to listen or want to watch some of that stuff.
Well, one of the things we've got coming, I forgot about Ken. Ken behind the scenes is building an app for us for BP and OP and POA.
Yeah, that's
Imagine
great.
if you're a college coach, you get a ping immediately when you know that 3 players have missed BPN and OP 3 holes in a row. You know exactly where that's at. Now, they may have hit it really close, so we're good. But Ken's been back of the house building that out for us. All of the tech in here, he got up and running for me. Just good friends. He happens to sometimes show up when I need help the most. I'm watching Nora Grace while I'm teaching, and in walks Ken. I'm going,
perfect timing.
Perfect timing. Thanks, Ken. Can you play with my daughter for a second?
Yeah.
So, it's just, we have a team, man. And these juniors and these pre-elites and the parents, and they're just so involved.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not here without them.
A lot of that too is thanks to the culture that's been built here at Franklin Bridge too. Yeah. So I mean, I guess we can finish off this part of the podcast or just this podcast period. I think we'll record one more tonight. just talking about how much this place has grown over the past 2 years. You've heard us talk about, the evolution of the Champions Playbook. Brooks has done a fantastic job with the culture here and putting on all the events that have brought everybody here and kept everybody here. We've got the course renovations that have been happening over the past couple of years. It just seems like this whole piece of property has been growing at an amazing pace to a point where we're putting out products for people to want to be here and to stay here. And we're the only real course in Franklin, Tennessee, I think probably within 15 miles, that is doing the things that we're doing. And in some ways, you could argue that we're the only course in Tennessee who's doing the things that we're doing.
Well, to talk about mindset, and to tie that in, I remember hearing from some of the staff when I first got here that the prior staff, when Brooks bought the place, they had the mindset, this place was known as the home of the 6-hour round.
Yeah.
And now you're not going to play longer than 4 hours and 18 minutes. If you want to go play 3 hours somewhere, go somewhere else. We're just too busy to deliver that. Or come play on a rainy day, The
other thing about this course too is that my family lives here on the course. They bought their house probably 15 years ago at this point. Before Brooks had the course, you could hit the fairway, hit it right down the middle, and not know if you were hitting off of a rock, mud, hard dirt, patchy grass, and maybe decent grass.
Gosh.
And now we've got like overseeded fairways, and it is just freaking gorgeous out here.
Yeah, and but one of the mindsets that was in there was, well, they have nowhere else to go. Why should we care?
Fair enough.
Now, we're busy and we're full.
Well, and to their point, touche. Like, where else are you going to go?
Yeah, but it's just, what a crappy mindset. What a terrible way to treat people, and that's just not who we are. And I was watching, so Poana is invasive in this area generally right now amongst a bunch of golf courses, and it's becoming...
Describe what that is for the people who don't know.
So Poana is an invasive grass when you don't want it. So there's some coastal golf courses that tend to have all Poana greens, which is fine. But when you have it invasive, it's like little bushes that are just
the little sprouts. Yeah, you see that on what on like 10.
So 10 has it a little bit. The practice green has it, and their whole team was out here pulling it by hand with knives underneath to kind of get the turf loose to be able to pull it and to get it all the way by the roots while they're spraying it. But it's become very resistant to the chemicals that are out there right now in the market, and so dedicated staff to go out and do that. I mean, it's no easy stuff. On top of all the other things, we got new bunkers being added in.
Yeah.
We just added new hole signs, which are great.
They look awesome.
With a nice pebble work, stone work around it with real trash cans instead of like that green basket that you used to see from American Gladiators from way back in the day.
Yeah.
The game were trying to dunk the balls in there. They're always leaning sideways, and that like gray cart sign with the 4 faded circles for your tee boxes. It just says hole 1, and it's like,
boring.
Welcome to Franklin Bridge. This is a crappy hole. Like, that's kind of that's the vibe that you get when you go to the first tee.
Yeah.
And so, we just, it's grown a lot, and Brooks cares deeply about the people. You're about to see some changes on the inside of the clubhouse that are really great. You've seen people in there painting recently. I'm going to tell our whole story, which is going to be super cool. So, gosh, what a special place to be.
What a great time to be here too.
Yeah, no, it's fantastic. If you're, get to grace these properties, are we perfect? By no means. We're always trying to grow, and we're aware of the places that we're weak. And
that's the other good thing about Brooks too, is he's not trying to pretend that we're not. He's not trying to pretend that we're perfect.
No, we're humans running a golf course. It's human to err, right?
Considering that the majority of golf courses lose money every year too.
Mm-hmm. And it's also human to learn and grow.
Right.
We're learning creatures.
Yep.
At the core, and welcome to No Mulligans. It's we'll start the next one a little bit with one of the reasons why I think the No Mulligans name is so fitting, because it actually fits to how your game. One of the shifts we had to make for you.
Yep.
Once you broke 80 the first time, and you kept playing a certain way. I was like, no, we got to shift it.
Yep.
So
in some ways, I've had to redo my breaking 80 mentality because of that. And I had no mulligans when I broke 80 the first time, but still it's like it's almost like a new learning curve.
Yeah.
But I remember texting you, we'll end the podcast with this. I remember texting you and I was like, dude, we should rebrand the podcast. Not that there's anything wrong with the Champions Playbook, but something that was more unique,
shift,
more unique to here, unique to you and me, unique to this new culture that we've built, and to kind of leave Birmingham and the growing pains behind, and really start fresh and start new. And we were playing with some names, and I was like, what about No Mulligans? I looked it up, and I was telling one of my buddies here, Tate, who's behind the mic, I was like, I was telling Tate, I was like, we're calling it No Mulligans, and I looked it up. Nobody has called their podcast the No Mulligans Podcast.
I know.
I'm like, that is gold.
That is ours.
Yeah,
we
doing
own that.
We're doing that.
No, it's so cool. And one of the things I think's neat in the new logo that you see at the start, and hopefully Tate can add it in like right here, and at the end. But is
note this timestamp right here.
Yeah, is on the logo you'll actually see on the flag it says 1R. I wanted to hold on to there's one rule, shoot a lower score, right? I wanted to hold on to that piece.
Yeah.
And so that it wasn't it's a total rebrand, but it's still just a little reminder back to our beginnings, and that's still at the core. There's one rule, shoot a lower score, no mulligans, takes us to the next tier.
I love it.
So I think that's kind of neat.
Well, we'll sign off in here from inside the studio at Franklin Bridge. It's Scott and Jack on the No Mulligans Podcast. We'll see you on the next one. Peace.
There's no rules. Shoot a lower score. There's one rule.